Chairman, you could start.
Thank you. So welcome to the May 9th meeting of the AHRB in the village of Dobbs Ferry. I'd like to start the meeting and open with the applicant for 398 Ashford Avenue.
He's not on yet. I'm just gonna let a couple, yeah, here he is. People are just getting on now. David, can you hear us?
Can now. Yep.
Hello.
Hey, David.
1 second. Yeah. How are you?
David,
How are you?
good.
How are you?
David, do you want to just give us a little update on the presentation? I saw some of the photos. I think we all know it pretty well at this point. So can you just outline what you're seeking for approval today, and hopefully we can get you through.
I mean, the way we ended last call was I was going to post. I was going to send photos across of paint color matching the stain of the door and a paint color matching the color of the frame. And folks who wanted to stop by the building and see it firsthand, we're going to have the ability to do so. I've left those up since the last, shortly after the last meeting. And I believe John circulated that as well with the board. So that's kind of where we're at right now.
Okay, I'm going to open it up to the board and maybe start with Dale.
So the aspen wall color is what you're proposing for those yellow doors today, correct? You're muted.
Sorry, they're unstained doors, but it was to match the maple. It was the closest match to the I believe it was the maple stain color.
Okay, but that aspen wall is your selected color based on the arrows on your chart, correct?
Correct. For the door frames.
For the door frames. The doors will remain the unstained color?
No, the doors will be the maple color that is across the arrow from the stain.
Oh, okay. Yeah, those seem to be fine. And then you also had the color next to the bronze. Where would that be applied?
The suggested application of that was for any of the front of the building stucco that was currently painted more of a beige color. The recommendation from this board was to paint that all a dark brown.
A grayer color, yes. I think that. Okay. I did go by today and I saw those chips. I think they seem to be fine. It won't be as jarring as it currently is. I think it'll be a little bit calmer. And I assume the blue doors remain blue doors, correct?
Blue doors will remain blue doors.
Okay. I have no objections. Anybody else on the board have any comments?
Paul?
No, it's a very significant improvement. Thanks for going through the trouble.
Thank you.
Eric?
No, everything looks fine and acceptable to me. Thank you.
So I'd like to, and I share the sentiment of the board. I'd like to move for an approval of the application under the stipulation that the stucco will be painted to match the SW 7048 Urbane bronze. The trim of the doors will be the aspen wall. I can't. And the stain on the doors themselves will be the unstained doors currently will be a natural oak to match as best possible, with the two blue doors to remain as currently painted. Do I have a second?
Second.
Dale seconds. All in favor? Motion passes. Thank you, David.
As long as you guys got what you want, that's okay with me. Can't say I agree with this color choice, but it is what it is. I feel like it's a little bit of an abuse of power, but that's just putting it out there. That's all I can say.
Well, you're more than happy if you'd like to come and volunteer your time to the board so you can have a say. We're happy to share and take your application if you'd like to donate your time.
I appreciate the offer.
All right.
Thank you
Have a
very
good
much.
evening. All right, moving on down the agenda, call to the applicants of 91 Main Street.
If there's anyone here from 91 Main Street, oh, here we go. Chris, can you hear us? Chris, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
We can hear you now.
All right, perfect. How is everyone? I hope everyone had a very nice weekend, aside from the weather. Came back. This is the second time here. Our first time, we all agreed that the awning that we're trying to place at 91 Main Street was not, didn't suit the building, wasn't engineered to get above the window. So we discussed going over with window vinyl graphics, and I believe your village ordinance is not to cover 30% of the window.
John, is this application's in accordance with our code?
It's code compliant. Chris,
Yes, sir.
are you also gonna show the board the proposed blade sign?
This came to us late on, I would say Thursday evening, Friday morning. I got it over to Sarah as quickly as I got it over. It was kind of like a late add-on. We could talk about it now if that's acceptable.
I would suggest to put the blade sign and the vinyl graphics together. That way it's one approval, one permit.
That's what we were. Do we have to come back again to another meeting or just file for the?
No, I'd like the board to see the blade sign tonight.
I think
Okay.
it's in the application as well, John.
What's that?
It's in the application. I believe it's in the pack as
Yeah,
well.
we uploaded it today, so you guys could see it.
Okay, that's fine. That's perfect. You guys can review it. I have, which one do you think would suit the village? Needs the oval or the rectangle?
Chris, are you able to share your screen and the president and what was submitted?
Unfortunately, I am not. I thought Sarah had uploaded these to your server so you guys could see them.
Brandon,
Let me try.
I have it up if you want me to share it.
Would you like to? That'd be.
Yeah, that's helpful.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Eric.
Can you all see it?
Chris, you see that?
I can, yes.
Yes.
And then what's the other? There.
And this is in conjunction with graphics being proposed on the window as well, correct?
Yes, sir. Correct.
It seems like and this will be mounted to what is the existing, what is it? It's an existing, what type of materials is the blade sign proposed to be mounted into?
It's going to be mounted into the wood that's next to the door going in.
Okay. So just onto the trim itself. Okay.
Exactly.
Is there a suggested height to the bottom of the sign?
That's something that we will, like I said, they're doing the sign, and when we go out there to measure the sign, to put it out there, that's something that we will do. But do you have a code for that on what the height has to be?
Yes, we do. 8'6" to the bottom.
8'6" to the bottom. Okay. All right, I just want to make sure that's in compliance. We're hanging that up at an acceptable level.
Yeah, I can put that as a condition if you guys approve it tonight.
Okay.
But
That's fine.
you have to select. Chris, what's the preferred sign? The rectangle or the oval?
I have to be honest with you, John. They sent us both options to send to you guys. We're just strictly doing the permitting and the installation on this. So what they choose, I don't know what their preferred. I can't. I don't have an answer to that. I'm sorry. I mean, I would think, the oval would be, kind of goes with the Lone Depot look with the D in there, but that's just me. It's a little nicer looking than a plain rectangle one.
So as far as I'm concerned, as far as long as the window sign is code compliant, I'm fine with that. The shingle, or what are we calling it, a blade sign? I actually prefer the rectangular one. I'd be interested to hear what the other board members think.
I think either sign is fine. The oval probably is more forgiving in terms of, collecting dirt and dust, but and I also agree that the oval goes better with the graphic that it's on. But I also believe either sign would be fine.
Eric?
I'd have to say I agree with Dale about liking the rectangle a bit more. I'm just worried about getting the proper height because it looks a little close just based on the image. I know it's not to scale, most likely. And is the sign, is it plastic or is it metal?
It would most likely be made of dye bond or acrylic. I have to confirm with them.
Yeah, the only thing with these signs just is
Actually, I'm sorry. It says 30 by 10, half-inch routed PVC.
okay, so it is plastic.
Yeah, it says it on the specs on the bottom. And again, I got these late at the end of the week last week to even, I should have been a little more prepared to review these, but.
Is it rigidly mounted or is it swinging on a chain link?
It looks like it's going to be swinging on a chain based upon the graphics.
Well, I'm just wondering if there are any issues with that for code for wind and like if that's going to be a problem if it's not, because I think we have others in the village that are rigid.
Most of the blade signs we have are rigid mounted.
So
For
we
the
can make
wind.
the
Exactly.
okay. So I'll tell them because they're going to be manufacturing it that the sign is fine, and it just has to be rigid with the it just has to be rigid. It can't swing.
Yeah, I mean these kind of signs are quite the nuisance in the wind. It can just be a problem.
Okay.
John, can that be a stipulation or is that something that needs to be
No, it
reworked?
can be a stipulation in the approval that it be rigidly mounted. And I think it should be selected square or oval.
Yeah.
Because that's too much to leave open. Unless you guys are okay with either one and we can tell the owner you pick.
Well, it sounds like the majority preferred the square from what I was tallying. So, and that includes myself. So I can move for an approval of the application with the stipulation that the height be mounted per code to allow proper clearance, that the design of the sign, the actual flag sign be rigid and not swinging, and that it be the square shaped design, option 1. of the application. Do I have a second?
Second.
Paul, Paul seconds? All in favor?
All in favor.
Motion approved.
Gentlemen,
Thank you, Chris.
thank you for making this very easy. Enjoy what evening you have. Take your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
Chris. Bye-bye. Good night.
Bye-bye. Have a good evening.
You too.
Next on the agenda is 22 Appleton Place.
The applicant has his hand raised, so I'm going to put him on, but I don't see the architect or the contractor. Robert, can you hear us? Oh, you're on mute.
I'm unmuted. Good evening.
Hello.
Evening.
How are you? Listen, this is my second time on, and I've got to make a bit of a presentation. It shouldn't take that long, but I don't want to prejudice or inconvenience my fellow applicants. So if you want to put me at the end of the agenda, that would be okay with me.
I think we can hear your application in the order that it's on the agenda.
That's fine.
We have no problem with that.
Okay, thanks for the opportunity to resubmit the renovation plans for your reconsideration. Also with me, I think, is my designer, Vicente Wolf, who was participating by phone, and he would be available for any particular design questions that you may have, although I would note that when we were last here on April 11th, he was questioned pretty extensively. I was not here on the 11th. I was away out of New York on a family matter, and I really thought this was so non-controversial that I wouldn't have to be there. But apparently I was wrong. At that April 11 meeting, the AHRB generally approved our plans, but some questions were raised regarding two replacement windows that are at the back of the house for the kitchen and the dining room. And the board asked us to consider other options. Let me tell you that we considered other options and we gave sober consideration to all of your comments, but we concluded that the original window design for these two windows is the most appropriate and desirable for the premises. And I got to give you a little bit of context about how we got to where we are. We've been in this house for 44 years. And after 4.5 decades, there's been deterioration in the roof, the siding, and the windows. And our contractor told us that all of them must be replaced. So we had two options. We could put the house on the market with a slab of paint on it and move out of Dobbs Ferry, or we could stay in Dobbs, where we've been here for almost half a century, and continue to contribute to the community in a variety of public and non-public ways. We elected to stay in Dobbs Ferry and sink money into this house. We hired Mr. Wolf, who was internationally known, and we paid him for his best design, which I think what he came up with. Let me say a few things about the remodeling plans. They are within the existing footprint of the house. They are within the original height of the house. We're not going out and we're not going up. The house itself is not within any historical district denominated within Dobbs Ferry. And our neighborhood houses around us are all architecturally diffuse. To our immediate right, north of us, at 20 Birch is a split level house with large plate windows overlooking the Hudson. Directly across from us to the west at 19 Birch is a Center Hall Colonial. Up the block at 11 Birch is a stucco Italianate house. To our immediate left at 30 Appleton is it's a nice house, but I would describe it as a brick bunker. On the corner of Appleton and Birch, there's a modern-ish, Frank Lloyd Wright-ish house with large plate glass windows overlooking the Hudson. Nearby at 218 and 220 Clinton, there are two new identical prefabricated houses. And I won't comment on their architectural value. But I will say that notice was given of the April 11th meeting to all of our neighbors. There was not one objection. At the April 11th meeting, one board member led the discussion and focused almost exclusively on these two windows in the back of the house overlooking Birch Lane, which is a cul-de-sac. The two windows, as I said, are the kitchen and the dining room windows. And they were designed to take advantage of the Hudson River view. And they were designed to do that in the kitchen and the dining room because that's where people congregate. And we think they add value to the house. I've spoken to William Ford Sussman, the village realtor, and I've gone over the plans with him. And he assures me that this does add value to the house. And regrettably, nobody lives forever. And one day this house will be on the market and it'll have extra value because we have opened up the Hudson River view. Some of the comments at the April 11th meeting really surprised me. And I reviewed the video of the meeting and I'm quoting, I think verbatim. I feel it looks alien to the rest of the house. I would prefer to the same size windows. I would like to see some symmetry. Well, most respectfully, I think that feelings and preferences and likes ought not to be a factor in determining whether a particular application is appropriate for a neighborhood. When a board is sitting and determining property rights and even personal rights, it has to exercise objective discretion. I mean, that's why speed limits are 30 miles an hour, not 30-ish miles an hour. That's why contract negotiations have to be completed within 30 days, not 30 days or as soon as you can get around to it. You need some objective standard. And I think that the proper size of the proper exercise of the board's authority here would be to consider the application from a perspective of it being detrimental to the property values of the surrounding area. And that's what the village code says, 317 CAC. I could quote it to you, but you guys know it. In other words, are the proposed plans too dissimilar to the rest of the neighborhood to coexist peacefully? And the decision that you make has to be based on a preponderance of the evidence set forth in the record. To my regret and my additional expense, that was not done at the April 11th meeting. There was no consideration as to the architectural styles of the neighborhood, no consideration whether our plans would subtract or add to the value of the neighborhood. There was only consideration of these two windows in a vacuum in relation to the house per se, not to the rest of the neighborhood. And I think that's what's required by the village code. I know something about the village code. When I was on the board, I helped write some of it, not the AHRB, but other parts of it. But let me conclude. I think any reasonable evaluation of our plans will find the following objective facts. We are not proposing a McMansion monstrosity. We are hardly changing the exterior at all. In fact, we think the changes will enhance not only the house by increasing the river view, but will add value to the house. I think our neighbors will benefit from that by having, there's a real estate maxim, you don't want to have the most expensive house on the block. I don't say this out of a sense of pride, but when I finish, I'll have the most expensive house on the block. And that will reflect favorably on the block for the rest of my neighbors. The changes that we're proposing are not out of character with our existing house or any other house in the neighborhood. And most important, we gave notice as required. There were no objections from those in the neighborhood, and there were no objections from the two houses most directly affected, the one at 19 Birch and 20 Birch. And I know these people. They've been to my house. They've seen the plans. They like the plans. And they're the only two houses that would face my house. And in fact, they don't really face my house because both of them face west. Everybody wants to look west, not east, because west is where the river is. So we're back with the same plan. I don't think that subjectively, it should be denied. I think objectively we meet all the requirements of the code. And I'm imploring, I'm begging the board to approve these plans. As you might expect from this presentation, I've got a lot of money and a lot of emotional energy tied up in this plan, not to see it through to the end. So, I hope it ends here. I don't want to have to go to the added expense of bringing in more architects in front of the village board and realtors to tell about the value added to the house. It's a good plan. It's not ugly. It's not epic mansion. It'll enhance the value of the neighborhood. Please approve it. I can't hear anybody.
And then you're on mute.
No, just sorry, I was on mute. I just wanted to thank you for your presentation and thank you for your words. So I would just, and I don't know if we want to do this in context and just in looking at the design guidelines from our board and the purview of this board is to ensure that we look to apply those design guidelines that are stipulated as authority of this board through any changes to the exterior of any homes within the village. So I don't know if you had a chance to specifically read the design guidelines as part of your.
And I think, and I'm not complaining about what you're doing, although here, I think that, well, I interrupted you, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I think what I would add is just that those design guidelines and what you quoted verbatim from the April 11th meeting are exactly the design guidelines that we use to try and look at all applications by applicants to the board. So, what I do now is I'd like to open it up to the other board members to understand. I mean, just to give a little bit of context from my understanding of the previous review, the siding replacements were all acceptable. Most of the window replacements on the other elevations, specifically the east, north, and south elevations of the home, were acceptable. The west elevation is the only one in question, and specifically the W1 and W2 windows that are different and not symmetrical with the balance of the house are the only portion of this application that continues to be in question. So, unless I think that's where we left it, which is why we asked that you go back and look at these two specific window locations, as well as why we asked to see the interior plans in alignment with the interior plans that are being submitted with the pool application for the building permit. So I'd like to give the other members an opportunity to weigh in, and then we can discuss options from there.
Let me just say, if I may, that I guess symmetry is fine. This looks pretty symmetrical to me. People can differ about that. Pablo Picasso painted portraits of Dora Maar with both of her eyes on one side of her face, totally asymmetrical. And I guess you can complain about that, but I think you come out on the wrong side of history, art history anyway.
Yeah, architecture of homes and art history, Picasso are two completely different forms of art, in my opinion. So, which is why us board members are very passionate about about construction of homes and the way and the look that they are within this town. So
I'm not complaining about that.
so I'm who would like to start? Dale?
So, unfortunately, I wasn't at the previous board meeting, so I didn't hear all the comments firsthand. But when I look at the elevation of the house that's in question, I see two brand new windows that don't look anything like the rest of the house. And I also see that they're just slightly off. They could be centered just a little bit over left, right to probably get a better alignment and a better overall, I wouldn't even use the word symmetry, but balance. Because it is a very pretty little house. It's not that little, but it's a very pretty house. And I think that the comments that I'm hearing secondhand deal with trying to maintain that character and quality, which you find so valuable and you like so much about this house and why you chose to stay there. The other thing that I don't quite understand in between looking at the plan and that elevation of the house is the plan shows windows in a different configuration than what's in the elevation. The plan at your kitchen shows the windows wrapping around on one side and then disconnected on the other side. So there's one window on the left side, and then there's the main viewing windows to the outside that actually wrap that corner. At least that's how it's depicted in one of the plans I have at my disposal. I don't have all the plans. I only seen what was submitted in this package. And I also think that there's some just real subtle things that would be a great enhancement and bring more value to your house. So that's my position in seeing this for the first time and seeing this package and what you're trying to do here. And I think it's a great project, and I think it's great that you're a resident for 40 years and that you care much about this village. And I don't think that we're asking, or I don't think the board was asking anything other than a consideration for something that you will also benefit from.
Yeah, and I can kind of add to that and agree with a lot of what Dale was saying. If you look at window W1, it sits above window W5 and not centered, and that's unpleasing to the eye. And you say, well, you know, that's kind of a subjective thing, but, you know, the guidelines that we have, you know, can't be so detailed that we can, you know, go to a very specific rule or law or guideline to you know, kind of guide us for every single decision. So we kind of have to rely on that. And actually, there is something in the code, you know, having to do with the general aesthetic of, you know, a house's windows. And if
I can share my screen.
yeah, if the windows, I was going to refer to John here, who actually has the code or the wording of the code available to us here.
Is it up?
Yeah.
It is.
So windows openings should achieve a general balance in terms of their placement. The use of traditional materials in an historic context is encouraged. You know, wood, clapboard. Okay, so that's referring to the siding of the house.
I think that's the third bullet.
Okay, window style should be consistent. Okay, yeah. So there you go. So it's, you know, I really respect what you're saying in terms of the architectural variety of the neighborhood, and you went through all the various houses that are neighbors with you. And that's one of the things that I love most about this neighborhood, is exactly what you were saying, is that there's such a variety of architecture and there's so many styles. And yeah, you've got that modern house right across the street from you. There's giant picture windows, and it looks great on that house because it's a big, giant, modern house. And with you, you've got all these nice, well-proportioned, divided light windows. And what you're trying to do is add these huge picture windows that we think are just out of scale with the architecture of your house. And using that code that John pulled up and using our experience here on this board, and many of us have many years of experience on this board. It's just, I think it's too far a departure for your house, not too far of a departure for the neighborhood, for the neighbors' houses, but your house specifically. I think that's the issue.
Eric?
I also was not, unfortunately, present for the last meeting, so I didn't hear everything in person either. But I think I'm kind of just going to be echoing what Dale and Paul have said. I think, yeah, the key is that it's not, about the rest of the neighborhood, and in terms of fitting with that, I think it's just what's fitting in symmetrically or stylistically with the rest of your house. And it, just the W1 and W2 windows just don't really fit in with the rest of the house in a pleasing way to the eye, unfortunately. And I don't think that, because right now, if you look, I'm looking at the Google Maps on it with the shutters everywhere and everything's all lined up very symmetrically. And it is, I'm sure it is the nicest house on the block, but yeah, it's there's nothing. Not much else I can say is that it just doesn't fit the character of the house, I think, ultimately.
Well, I think denying the application is impairing the value of my house. I guess I would ask the board to give it an up or down vote tonight, so I could take the next necessary step. Unless I cut somebody off from speaking, which I didn't mean to do.
No, not at all. I just to add my opinion. I was at the initial hearing or the initial application review. My opinion remains consistent in how I summarized in context. That said, if you are looking for a vote tonight as opposed to a continuation for consideration of a different design, we can move that way, and we'd be happy to allow you to progress in the process. Is that just to confirm that's what you'd like us to do?
Well, the delay is costing me money because I've got this contractor who can't continue. Is there a way for me to have it both ways, continuation and a vote down on this particular design, so I can move this design in front of the village board?
Unfortunately, if we move to a vote and disapprove, the next step would be with the zoning board of appeals. The only other alternative, Mr. Harwood, would be for you to reconsider and continue to work through the design to ensure that those two windows are redesigned to meet the board's approval.
Brendan,
Those are really your options.
may I just ask a question? And this is as much for my own information as anybody else's, but is it possible to withhold approval or continue on the question of these windows, but allow the rest of the project that the board, that, as you said earlier, the board has no difficulty with, for those elements to proceed, just withholding this one element for future consideration?
That would be acceptable.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, that's Vincent talking. Vicente, go ahead.
Oh, okay, sure. Well, you're asking the windows to be symmetrical, but that is interfering with the rooms, because to make it symmetrical, you're going to have to go into the living room or into the dining room. The rooms are not symmetrical with the windows below.
Yeah, I
You
think
understand?
symmetry is only.
I think there are some
symmetry is only
subtle,
one.
I think there are some subtle variations that could happen with
Like,
W1,
could you
for
tell me
example.
what?
W1 could shift about 1.5 feet to the left and be aligned with the
Yeah,
window
but then
on a
it's
floor number 8 on the W8 and W5. It's just odd that there's no
so.
alignment there.
Let me ask you something. So then, the fact that the window within that room is off center.
Well, I can't see that because
then,
I haven't seen the plan of that room. I've seen partial plans that were incomplete that don't show me that exact what's happening inside that room.
I
see
mean,
it.
we
I saw a
submitted
table.
it, so
It's not in the package that came through this evening.
you said you see a table?
I'm trying to go back to, if you have the drawing, it'd be great to see it now.
Yeah, no, I'm on the phone and I am not in my office. But let me ask you a question. First of all, what is the kitchen used to be a jealousy room. So that had full width, unbalanced to the bottom, how it was originally. Then when the Harwoods remodeled the house, they eliminated that. So already from the beginning, it was never symmetrical with the part below. And for it to be symmetrical with the dining room window, you have to move it or close to where the entrance door is. It throws the whole thing off. And the shutters are not going to be there anymore. So when you mention the shutters, that's no longer going to be there. They rotted away and we're not replacing them. So you're saying that it's not pleasing. Even if there are other houses left and right, and maybe some houses created by members of the board that are not symmetrical, but that is okay. It's this specific house is the one that you feel should have a historical or a design point of view, which isn't that objective? In the fact that you're saying it should be this. When the house has no real historical, point of view. I don't.
Did you see the guidelines that I just shared?
No, as I said, I'm on a cell phone.
So the design guidelines state that windows shall match around the home. So it's not an opinion or that it's
so what you're saying
guidelines
is
are that windows should match.
So let me ask you a question. If we eliminate all the traditional windows and do full panes of glass, that would be okay.
We haven't
Because
we
then
haven't
they
seen
would
an
all match.
Well, we haven't seen
but
an
I'm
application that
going
presents anything
along-
different.
Going along the conversation, because you said it says that all the windows must match. So if they are full panes of glass, then you're saying that would be okay because now they all match.
It's not a black and white answer. We haven't seen an application that shows that in context with the rest of what's being done. If that's a consideration that you'd like to put in front of us, we can continue this to the next meeting, and we'll be happy to review that application then. We're simply following the guidelines, and when you look at this specific elevation, the west elevation alone, with the introduction of the full pane windows in conjunction with the other windows on the application in the same elevation, there's an inconsistency that's not pleasing to the board, to all members of the board. It's not one dissent.
Let me ask you a
It's
question.
all of us.
So if I find in that neighborhood, houses that have windows with mullions, and then they've installed full panes of glass. How does that alter the decision?
We're not considering other people's homes in the application, other than
Yes, but
in the
isn't
context of overall. The entire neighborhood, I think we just all agreed that the houses are not similar. They don't effectively need to be similar. But we're talking about this specific elevation and how dissimilar the W1 and W2 windows are from the rest of the house. If you'd like to, we'd be more than happy to consider another application.
Let me ask you a question. If they were bay windows, they would still not match the other windows, correct? So you're saying they must be exactly the same windows that are throughout the house must be in that space? Or is it, so I understand. So are you saying that if those windows had mullions, well, then it matches the rest of the house? I need to understand, because for us to consider or present to the client an idea of what an alternative, I need to have some guidelines. I can't just throw it out. Let me think. Just throw it against the wall to see if it sticks. So are you saying it's the mullions? Are you saying it's the shape of the windows? Or are you saying just the symmetry?
I don't think it's our job to
I
design the house for you. I think that, of course, we will accept some amount of dissimilarity. We don't need all the windows to be the exact same size. The windows on the first floor don't need to be the same size as the windows on the third floor. That would look ridiculous. There's got to be, I think, though, mullioned windows certainly would be more in character. Centering the windows over elements above and below might be more in character. Having at least a closer size variance or less of a size variance. I apologize.
Could you explain your words,
I can't
please,
tell you
sir?
exactly how much or to what degree or what measurements we would accept and which measurements we wouldn't accept. That's up to you. We're just saying that this.
Well, no, it's not up to me. It's up to you, because you're the one making the decision if you can do it or not. So I would say to you, like the gentleman with the pink wood doors who disagrees with you, I have no choice. You are setting the rules. So all I'm asking you is give me a set of rules that I can follow so I can then propose that to the client, which is not, I don't think, an unreasonable request, as we are trying to comply with the town, but let the project continue, because it's putting on hold ordering those windows. So all I'm asking is, if you're saying, well, if you put mullions on it, then we feel that it could be okay. I'm not asking you to put it in stone, but I'm asking you, for the client's sake, who's a member of your community, and for their well-being, to give us some sort of guidelines, so then we can say, forget it, we're going to proceed on to something else to fight it, or okay, yes, that works, that looks okay, we'll go with that.
Mr. Chairman, my wife would like to address the board, if that would be okay with you.
I just want to say, one of the reasons why we're doing this is we have realized we had a Hudson River view, but we've never taken advantage of it. And it's a traditional house, but we have an opportunity to utilize the house in a different way, and to keep small windows totally obliterates the option of enjoying the whole reason you live in the river towns, when you are able to have a river view. And so opening up the two rooms that we are primarily in so that they have the greatest visibility is what we're trying to do. So now, trying to make them symmetrical with windows that are forcing us to be interior as opposed to be enjoying what is surrounding our property is really forcing us to live an internal house as opposed to being inside and outside at the same time, which is a magnificent way to live. And if it's a matter of doing anything to try to conform, possibly putting mullions so that they have all the same panes in the house, but letting us have at least the size so that we can capture the view. We're talking to you from Sag Harbor, where there are very strict requirements because we live in a historic house here and we cannot change the windows. We purposely did not want to leave Dobbs Ferry because of the mix of housing, the mix of people. So I'm listening to this and I am trying to see how I can really maximize what I haven't had in 40 years, which is my Hudson River view. And if you do live in a house where you're trying to have me conform to what I've been living in, you're making me stay within the rooms and not have the expanse of this amazing river that we live on. So I would like to clarify if we can keep the size of them and possibly put the mullions in, but asking us to start making them. And if you came inside the house, none of the rooms really conform to the windows. The window underneath the window on right to the left of the door doesn't even show on the interior because it's a bathroom and we have enclosed it so it really doesn't function as a window. It's a small room. The other one is a garage. So realize that what's inside is not what is reflected in the windows. So I'd really like you to consider this and the reason why we're doing it and how we can do this so that we can have the reason why we've gone through this expense to even do the house without going back to having the same house that we had before.
And just to repeat, this is the back of the house, and only two houses, 19 and 20 Birch Lane, would even see this if they were looking up the hill, which they don't. And they've approved the plan, they like it. They can come in front of the board and tell you so themselves.
So to try and address the question about guidelines to the architect, I'm sorry that I missed your name at the beginning as you started to speak. Vincent?
No, Vincent, yeah.
Vincent, I think what I would point you to in terms of guidelines are what we had up on the screen earlier in the application. Those guidelines are within the Dobbs Ferry Code. We fully understand, you know, that what you're trying to do and what you're trying to accomplish, but we're also tasked with ensuring that it's in keeping with the rest of the home, right? And so I don't know that adding mullions to the windows is the answer. You know, I at this point, you know, you've taken the stance of not considering alternative designs, as what you've shown to us in this presentation is exactly what was presented a month ago, almost to the date. So I think unfortunately with what's presented to us currently, there's, you know, the only choice that we would have here would be a continuation where you would have to in review of those guidelines, come back with a revised plan. I don't think there's no other vote of approval to consider here at this stage.
Well, let me ask you a question. One last thing. When the gentleman who was painting the doors with the bronze color, with the stucco and all that, you had very clear opinions at the last meeting, very clear opinions of what he should do.
Yeah, that was
I'm
also
asking for the same.
That was the fifth time that he was in front of us, Vincent. One, and secondly, that was not the first time or second time that he was in there, and he's been making revisions to what was an overall plan. That
I
was
understand,
one last
and
portion.
what I'm saying to you is, you gave him opinions of what he should do. You said, well, if you do the stucco in the bronze color, and we want to see the bronze color mounted onto the wall, so like this, we know it's that sort of thing. I'm asking for the same courtesy of giving us some guidelines and some opinions that can work. And if I am sorry if you did not get the interior plans, but some guidelines, so the inside and the outside. So from the inside, it doesn't look like you have a window all the way to the left of the room. You know, that is unpleasing and not good spiritually to be in a space where things are off balance. As you're saying, it should be from the exterior.
So
I
if I may,
yes,
I don't think we're saying, and I can't speak for the entire board, but I don't think we're saying that you need to use little windows all over the house. I don't think we're saying that these larger windows are unacceptable or not approvable. I think what we're saying is that there are probably some other options that would get a more pleasing outcome. And you might want to produce a couple other sketch alternatives to see if there's another situation or another solution that can marry with the existing house and really create a beautiful outcome.
May I say, gentlemen, and I've been doing this for 50 years, this happens to be your opinion. I am somebody who's been very well respected in my point of view, very, doctorates given to me for what I do. So to say that it's pleasing, let's clarify pleasing to you, not the fact that what has been done is not correct, style-wise, design-wise, and aesthetically. I will then discuss it with the client. So I would say, Mr. Harwood, would you say a continuum?
I would say a continuum, and unless we could adopt Mr. Rosenberg's suggestion and approve what's already been approved last time and hold the windows.
Well, that was approved the last time. The stain and the other windows. The only thing that there's in this, and correct me, gentlemen, if I am wrong, the only thing that is in question are those two windows. Correct?
We have not voted on the application. So the entire application is still applicable.
No, because at the last meeting, they said that all the other parts were okay. It was only the two windows waiting to receive a new, design ideas.
We agree
Correct?
that there are no other comments, but we have not voted on the application, which means none of it is approved to date.
Thanks.
Very
So
helpful.
there's,
So why don't we just have a continuance and then we'll decide what it is we're going to do.
I'll make a motion to
Okay.
continue this application. Do I have a second?
Second.
Dale seconds. Eric, Paul, you're off camera. Can you, Eric, yes.
Oh, yes.
Paul, yes. Continue. Thank you.
We can ring off. yes.
Okay.
Uh-oh, I lost the agenda. 1 second. What's next on the agenda?
Next
John?
is
18 Bellwood.
18 Bellwood Avenue.
Chris, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
There's apologies for the wait.
Not a problem. My name is Chris Palella from Sullivan Architecture in White Plains, New York. We're here on behalf of the Church of the Sacred Heart, and specifically their rectory, which is located at 18 Bellwood Avenue. We originally appeared before the board in August of 2021, where we received original approval for this project. Construction began, and due to some site conditions, there were some minor changes that needed to be made to the plan and to one of the elevations. So during the course of inspections, the building department asked us to reapply to the AHRB, and that's why we are here this evening.
All right. Would you be able to share the proposed plans?
I
Revisions?
can.
And the approved plan too, Chris, so we can see.
So, yeah, why don't I start with the approved plan? So the crux of this project was really to enclose this existing, I'll go to the pictures first, this existing screened-in porch on the side of the house. That was going to be made internal space. It was going to be made into a den for the rest of the residents. So our original plans, zoom in here a bit. This is the screened-in porch in question. We originally showed two windows on the side of the house, one window on the rear of the house, a set of stairs and a door down to the existing backyard, and a blank wall to the front, which are represented here in these elevations. And these are the original elevations that received the approval back in August. You see this door and stairway to the side, and the blank wall in the front of the house. During construction, the contractor elected to reframe this existing porch completely, which kind of cut off the space that we had to fit a door in this back corner. So subsequently, construction continued, and they elected to keep the two windows on the side of the house, take the window from the rear and move it to the front of the house, and kind of like do away with the idea of a door down the side and change it to a double door with a set of stairs now directly to the back of the house and onto the patio, or the original patio. There's no longer a patio there today. So here's some existing progress photos of the construction. The windows, of course, like everything else in the world, are on back order and have not been placed. But the stairs, the contractor kept moving forward and did frame out the stairs with the originally approved vinyl railing system, and the new configuration with the French doors to the rear. So I can show you our revised elevations, which are more as-built than proposed at this point. And the one thing missing from the stairs are the paneling below the stairs, which will be installed as construction continues. And here again is the revised floor plan. So the window size didn't change. It was the same window size as previously approved, which matched the existing windows on the house. The only real change is the configuration of the stairs and the addition of the double French door to the rear.
And the front window.
Correct. It's the same window. It's the rear window just moved to the front, but yes, the elevation now changes so that it's no longer a blank wall. It now has a window facing the front, which actually was a comment from the original approval that they had wished we placed the window there to begin with. So in a sense, we've we've answered one of the comments from the previous approval.
Okay.
I think it's better with the front facing window. I think it's fine.
Dale,
I think
any
it,
comments?
no comments.
Eric, you still with us?
Yep. Yeah, I think the front facing window is better. I did like the back stairs better in the first version, but this one's fine.
We did actually too, and there was some precedent because there had been a stair there previously, but once the contractor reframed everything, there just wasn't enough room to fit a door in with the larger framing size, and now the room is actually better insulated, so there are some trade-offs in that sense.
So I only had one question on the south elevation, you know, where the current piers are. There's nothing that infills from in between the two brick piers. It's an open crawl space essentially underneath that.
That's correct.
Or and then you're adding paneling to the stairs underneath. I mean, I think in its current configuration and the way that it looks now, you know, even without paneling there, I don't know that it's a necessity given the fact that there's nothing directly adjacent to it, screening that space. So, and I just wanted to see if anyone else from the board had an opinion on the paneling, the necessity of the paneling at the stair, as it looks a little bit, as it serves a purpose of closing off underneath the stair, but directly adjacent to it is open.
Right.
So
I agree with you, Brandon. Is it already paneled right now?
It's not. No, it's currently not. I can show you the progress construction photos that we have.
Yeah, Brandon's completely right about that, by the way.
So
I think one of the reasons there is an air handler unit there, or a split system unit that we wanted to screen. And we actually had proposed the solid paneling before that was placed there. And subsequently, we've discussed possibly doing the lattice work to try to hide that a bit. And we may want to do that actually along the side elevation now too, that unit is visible. So
but it's blocked by the pier when facing on the south elevation, right? So
it is
directly behind that brick pier.
That's correct. At an angle, though, you could probably see it. You know, if you were looking, I guess, from the street, I guess the elevation wouldn't allow you to see that far down. But if you're in the side yard of the house, you could probably see it at an angle.
Is that a pad in terms of the as-built directly next to this elevation? Is there something else scheduled to go there?
I believe they've decided to put some. It's a bit of a little retaining wall here.
Yeah, it just looks like another pad on another slab for some sort of equipment is what it reads like from the photos.
No, there's definitely no equipment. I believe they're going to put steps leading from this side up to the grade change. I believe that's what the contractor said.
Okay. I mean, even as railing, I don't know how many rises that is, but even with railings, I don't see a necessity for the screening in the paneling that's there. You know, if you'd like to enclose or put some enclosure around that split system, I mean, you could do that underneath, but I don't know that it needs to align with the face and the elevation at the bottom of the stairs.
Okay. And minimally,
I think on both sides.
I think we would trim out these posts, you know, minimally, just to finish it off a bit.
I think that's acceptable. Dale, do you have any?
Yeah, I think it seems more consistent to leave it open than to close it off.
Eric?
Yeah, I just think be consistent with it. If you're going to panel it off, it feels like almost you have to panel everything, you know, and on the other side too. Otherwise, it is inconsistent to panel the stairs and not the other side of the brick pier.
Yeah, I would agree with that logic.
Okay, so I mean, we do have to make, we can make a stipulation in the approval that you're gonna clad the posts for the stairs. Is that acceptable?
Yeah, that's okay with us.
Okay. Other than that, that was my only question. So I can make a motion for approval with the stipulation that the paneling at the south and west elevation that closes the underside of the stairs be removed, and that the supporting posts for the stairs be clad to match the railings and the paneling. Do I have a second?
Second.
Dale seconds. All in favor? All right. I think thank you very much.
Great, thank you all.
And
The-
last on the agenda is 2 Summit Terrace.
Elizabeth, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Hang on one second. Hi.
Hi, Elizabeth.
Hi, I'm Liz Vanderzand, and I'm here from Mitchell Koch Architects. And also listening or possibly joining are Mitch Koch and Jason Baird. They're here to chime in if we need them to. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. So this property is located at 2 Summit Terrace. It's adjacent to the Juring Nature Preserve. You can see this pinpoint here on the aerial views. This is the house here. Okay. So just to point out, the work that's going to be done is here on the back of the house. North is this way off here, and west is off this way here. And so all of the work is only going to be on the sides of the house that face the nature preserve. And you can see from the property survey here, again, the work is going to be all done on this side of the house and the back of the house. So no neighbor is actually occupy those properties. It's all during. This is a photograph of the back of the house as it is right now. We have outlined the area of the extension. Let me go back. Sorry. Okay. Okay. Okay, so here on the site plan, you see in orange our area of work. And just to give you an idea of what's happening here in the house, we're adding a new dining room on the back. That dining room is occupying the area which is currently a laundry room extension that you see in this picture. So this laundry room is going to get removed, and on the same foundation, we're proposing to build a larger dining area. And also we're opening up the back of the kitchen. We're expanding the kitchen into the front current dining room and opening up the back of the kitchen with this patio door. These are some context. These are some of the adjacent neighboring homes. And I'll show you the photographs of the existing house. One second. Okay, so on here you can see existing elevations. That would be the north and west, again, are the 2 sides that are affected. This is the photograph of the north side of the house. as it is right now, the garage, which we'll be altering. This is the front of the house where there's no proposed work. The south side of the house, and actually at this end of the house, you wouldn't see any change. And then a view of the west side of the house, the existing deck, existing balcony, and again, that area of the house where the work is proposed. These are the proposed elevations. So you can see we're proposing to rework the garage and make a smaller garage door, add a window here. And this is the north elevation of the new dining room with twin casement windows. And the back view at the west will have 2 more sets of twin casement windows and some trapezoid transom windows. And then this new 4-panel patio door will be the full back, almost the entire width of the back of the kitchen. We're going to be rebuilding this wood balcony above to match what's there now. We're leaving the deck intact, so the railing that's there now, which also matches the upstairs balcony, will stay as is. We have a little bit more detailed view of the proposed west elevation of the dining room here. And let's see, some section views through the building and a detailed section of the extension. I don't know if you'd like me to go through the light specifications, but we submitted those along with the package. So any of the exterior lighting that we have, we've included those specifications as well. Stop me if you have a question or if I'm going through these too quickly. This is the proposed specification for the new garage door. And again, we submitted specifications for the new windows. So we have, as I'd mentioned, we have twin casements that would be going into the new dining room. We have some double hung windows, which is the predominant style of window in the house. And then we have a couple of trapezoidal windows that would be up in the upper portion of that new dining room area. We submitted 2 different patio door options, but the configurations are the same. But I think based on what we've learned now about lead time and pricing, we're going to be going with the 400 series Anderson patio doors, which are the same specification that we have for the rest of the windows in the project. Okay. That's the gist of it. So if there are any specific questions, we can answer them.
I'd be happy to open up comments from the board. Paul, do you want to start this one?
Sure. Can you hear me? Okay. So just regarding the rear elevation, is this backing up the woods, or do you have rear neighbors? Do they have rear neighbors, or what's the issue?
Yes. So as I'd mentioned, to the north and west of this property is Druring. So there are no neighbors. I'm going to go back for you to the aerial view. Here's a little bit larger view of it. This pinpoint is the property. Mm-hmm. So again, the work would really only be visible to the north here, that's down to the left, and at the west back here, and on both sides, that's Druring. There are no other houses there.
Yes, if you go to the rear elevation one more time, please.
Sure.
I guess my only issue is just the variety of windows. You've got double hung windows, you've got divided light windows, you've got casement windows. That's my only issue. I guess the fact that you're backing up to the forest makes that less of an issue. Particularly in context of this meeting and previous conversations we've had in this meeting. That's the only issue that I could appreciate. But of course, you have to take into account the property itself. I'd be interested to hear what the other board members have to say.
Dale?
I agree. There's a lot going on with the windows. I was just trying to understand. It seems that there are already casements on one side of the house or on both sides of the house. And the number of divided light windows is much smaller in number, it seems, than of other types.
Should I address, can I address some of the things that you just
Sure.
mentioned?
Sure.
Okay, so yes, the existing house, let's look at the pictures again and the elevations. The predominant window style in the existing house are double hung windows. There are several pairs of French doors on the first floor at the front, and at the back, there's one set right now, which you can't see in this, but I will
It's in your
scroll up
elevation.
here.
Yeah.
So here. So yes, the predominant window style in the house are double hung. There's already a mixture of with and without muntins. There is this set of sliding doors upstairs, which have no muntins. So there is already a mixture. I don't believe there are any casement windows anywhere on the house. I think we've got all double hungs, and then, as I said, the French doors and the sliding doors. So as far as muntins or no muntins, that's already a big mix. And the idea that we really had here, and the real programmatic ask from the clients, was for them to be able to open up the kitchen and dining room to the views of Juring, and really bring that into the spaces that they're in the most. And along with that, they have a strong preference for, well, in our architectural proposal, it was, let's put in, as much fenestration as possible. Let's open this up for you as much as we can, floor to ceiling where possible, or if not, so at the back of the kitchen, that was the idea, really give them a lot of glass. And again, at the dining room, give them a lot of glass. The owners have a strong preference to do this without divided lights as in the new windows, just really so that from the inside, they can sense and see and feel the outside as much as possible. They felt that it was more open that way. And because this is the back of the house, and there already was a mix of windows on the house, we felt that we could try to do it this way. And as we mentioned, there are no neighbors anywhere, and there never will be any neighbors allowed to build homes that would be positioned to be able to see this side of the house.
Eric, anything to add?
Yeah, I would just say, just kind of looking at it, it's definitely a hodgepodge of different types of windows all over the house. So it's definitely adding to that. Obviously this renovation is not going for the whole building, but it seems like if they prefer it without the divided light, that would, if they were to start renovating other parts of the house, maybe to eliminate that to get some of the clutter out of the way, but obviously that's not here and now.
It's not, I'm sorry to interject, but that is their hope that over time, when they go to replace the other windows, that they would replace them more in kind with what we're proposing to put in now.
Got it. Yeah, that's good to hear. You know, I definitely feel like the garage door area is cleaned up a bit with the smaller door and the window over there too. And yeah, I know, I see what you guys are saying about, you know, adding all the fenestration facing the woods like that in that part of the house. So that's it.
I think, you know, I definitely understand the comment that it's a different type of window, but I think we're also, you know, it's a center all colonial, and from the front it looks traditional. Obviously, just trying to open up at the back. I think that I agree there's a mix of different windows, but I think that what we're proposing within the area of work that we're proposing, I think there's, you know, a consistency there so that, you know, when you're in those spaces, I don't think it's going to feel like a hodgepodge, you know, within each space.
Yeah, and I definitely appreciate keeping the roof line on the new section consistent with the rest of the house, you know, going over and matching it to the existing elevation on the north side. So, yep.
And you can see, you know, in that old photograph that what's there now, you know, is a similar shape. It's slightly smaller, and there are no window openings to the back. So I think it's an improvement as far as the elevation.
Yeah, I definitely can see that. It definitely, that room does look kind of odd as it is currently built.
Yeah, and just to add in my few thoughts. I mean, I don't necessarily take exception to the fenestration in the windows in the dining room extension itself. I think having that as its own distinct open area with different windows it reads a little bit differently than the rest of the elevation. I did have was there any consideration of the double hung door at the middle of the patio as well as the second set of French doors? Is that those are scheduled to remain? I know the area of work is shaded in gray. Those are not being replaced.
The other windows, I'm sorry, the double hung window in the middle of the back wall, is that what you're asking about?
That and the existing double door, the other set of double doors to the porch. I think if one elevation of the back of the house had no muttons, right, and we're consistent all the way across at that same elevation on that floor, I think it may just allow for some more consistency, but it didn't know if those were ever considered to be replaced as part of the renovation efforts.
The French doors on the right side were put in by the owners, I'm not sure how many years ago, but along with the doors on the front of the house. So I'm not sure those are on the chopping block, so to speak, but I think that, you know, there probably will be a time in the not so distant future that Jason and Lauren may want to replace that other double hung window there on the first floor.
Okay, I'm just looking at the type D windows that are adjacent, and then the fact that you have 6/6s in other elevations on that same level. You know, just trying to understand if there's any way of bringing in consistency, but highlighting the fenestration of the addition at the dining room by maybe considering double hungs with 6/6s for those type Ds as a way of just staying consistent. You know, I think the fact that there are other double hungs in the house without muttons and it's a mixed bag. I think in context you do have to consider the views to the or at least who and what can be viewing this. It's not located from a street or from neighboring properties, but didn't know if there was any. I can understand the consideration, but just trying to drive for some consistency here. in window type. So
Yeah, yeah, and we have gone through several iterations with the new double hungs, maintaining that same 6/6 configuration. But as I said, the owner's strong preference is to try to go without the muntins if possible.
okay. Yeah,
But
I'm
yes.
generally supportive, you know, of considering the context and you know the owners wanting to continue and likely have further replacements down the road to try and drive for consistency. It's something to be said. You know, I think that's what's been done. It looks like through various renovations of the house over time anyway. It
Yeah,
looks like at the back of the elevation that, you know, the continued removal of the muttons at this specific. I do think that if this was on the other side of the house being considered, we would have a different opinion, or at least I would personally have a different opinion. But you know, I'd like to just circle back around with the board to see if there's any other considerations worth asking to the specific application.
I think that, yeah, to some degree, the mishmash of styles in the windows is kind of grandfathered in, the fact that it's a mess. But with the understanding that any further renovations or window replacements would have to kind of go towards rectifying that issue. I don't think that adding muntins to the proposed windows is going to make the entire thing harmonious, just because there's already such a mishmash of styles. So hopefully this establishes kind of an aesthetic guideline or principle that we can follow going forward. And hopefully they do replace more windows going forward, because right now it doesn't work. But as far as what they're proposing in terms of addition, I think I agree with Brandon. I think let's establish a new aesthetic going forward, and I'm okay with this as proposed.
Dale or Eric, anything to add?
Did we review materials, roofing, siding?
no, okay.
No.
Thank you for the reminder. Everything's going to match what's there as far as siding and roofing. So the new siding would be the same, have the same exposure dimension, and would be painted to match what's there now. I think, I don't know if Jason Baird is viewable on here, but given that we're remote and he's holding on to the color samples, maybe he could get on camera.
I just promoted Jason to a panelist.
Okay.
And just while we're waiting for that, the lighting is being done. The new lighting and wall sconces is going to be installed in accordance with village code. I don't know if that's a specific, is that a specific note on the drawings currently?
It is. It's all, you know, they'll all be dark sky compliant and comply with that line in the code for exterior lighting. That is on one of these pages, maybe the plan. Yeah, here we go.
Perfect.
Elizabeth, are any of the windows on the rear elevation, are the muttons removable, or they're built in between the glass?
So some of them are, and some of them are not, as far as I know. So again, a mix.
If they are removable, at this specific elevation, I think our recommendation would be to remove them.
Mhm. I think the owners will be happy to hear that. I don't know. Again, I don't see him on here. Oh, there you are, Jake.
I'm here. Yeah, definitely hear the comments and thank you for the feedback. And budget pending, our plan is to strive for consistency here in the back. The center small window is a bathroom window, and the two on the top are actually bathroom windows. And as soon as we can replace those, we will. But they are not part of this current project, so we'll have to come back budget pending. But I do have samples of the color. You know, we did paint the house, so we do have those colors. We actually have the sample of the siding, so everything with the siding and the color of the paint and the roof will all be done to match what's there currently.
And gutters as well, I'm assuming.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, what you were commenting on, the laundry room was added on 30, 40 years ago. That's what has the greatest view of this 76-acre nature preserve. So we're going to expand that out about 4 feet and make that into a place we can hang out a little bit more instead of just do laundry.
Understood.
Sounds like a good plan.
And any questions on materials, guys? Dale, I think match existing.
Looks
It's
good.
consistent throughout.
Looks good.
Okay. So if there's no other comments, and I don't think we had any other stipulations. I'll make a motion for approval of this application as submitted. Do I have a second? Eric seconds. All in favor? And good luck.
Thank
Thank
you
you
very
very
much.
much. Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good luck.
Just make a motion to.
To adjourn, right? Motion to adjourn this meeting? Do I have a second? Eric seconds that one too. All in favor? All right, guys and girls,